morning. It is 6:42. Welcome back to a great day for this Tuesday, 28th day of May. And Ron, the car guy, made it through Memorial Day weekend.
I did. Made it all the way through.
Did you have a big barbecue?
Had some barbecue.
Did you?
I did, yeah. We went to the Valley Junction function.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. It was really good. The crowd, I think the weather held some people off. But, but yeah, it was a good time.
It wasn't the fact that you were there that people stayed away.
I had two people come up to me and mention that I was Ron the car guy.
Thanks for letting me know.
That's right.
All right, so time to learn something, and wait till you guys get a load of what Ron is going to talk about, because he gave me a little insight as to what he's going to speak of, and it blows me away when I hear some of the things you're going to talk about.
Well, I'm excited because I need an oil change, and I think I...
But I don't think we should mix and match these. I mean,
yeah, this is the part that really gets me. Go ahead and explain what you're talking about, because you're not going to believe this, folks.
I wanted to talk a little bit about oil changes on European cars. And oftentimes when we think about European cars, we think about like a Mercedes or a BMW.
Right.
But there's other European cars out there. We've got the Volvos, the Jaguars, and probably the most popular is the Volkswagen and Audi. Mm-hmm. And that's a really fast-growing brand, and we're seeing a lot more of those vehicles, and an oil change isn't simple on a European car.
Why?
The German engineers think differently than we do when it comes to oil in a vehicle, and these cars require different type of oil. Right now, for example, I've got two Volkswagens sitting in the shop that we're replacing engines in. And that makes a total of 7 that we've done. One shop in Des Moines, Iowa, since the first of the year. And they're all coming in with oil-related problems. The engines are ruined because the wrong types of oil are being used.
Really?
Yes. And even talking to other car people, we see that in the industry they're not necessarily familiar that these cars take different oil, and so probably the biggest example is something that you and I and everybody out there is used to, is when we look at oil, we look at a 5W30
exactly.
or a 10W30. That's the viscosity, that's the thickness and thinness of the oil and how it's rated.
Okay. So before you go any further, what do those two numbers mean, 5W and 30?
That's a great question. The W number means winter.
Okay.
So 5W, 10W means how it flows in the winter time when it's cold. Okay. And then the 30 or the 40 or 50, whatever's at the end, is how it would flow in the summertime.
Okay.
So as an example, a straight 30 weight oil would flow 30 weight thickness year round. A 5W30 would flow like 5 weight oil in the wintertime and 30 weight oil in the summertime, because in the wintertime you want that oil thinner so it starts moving around, kind of like the blood in your body.
It doesn't sit in the pan and
exactly,
do nothing.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
It lubricates. So that's a great question. If you've got a German manufactured car, none of that matters.
It doesn't matter.
They could care less.
Really?
Yep. They could care less about viscosity. If you actually look in the service manual or the owner's manual for what they prefer for oil in those vehicles, they don't even talk about viscosity. They don't acknowledge it exists. It's
really?
It's irrelevant.
I see, that part I didn't realize. Wow.
And it's hard to grasp as especially a car guy in the industry, because that's all we've known, since I was 12 years old. You got this kind of oil, and you put this oil on the tractor, et cetera, et cetera. Viscosity doesn't matter.
Is that why they lost World War II? Because they just didn't do their oil?
Because they didn't know they didn't put the right oil in the tank.
Exactly, and then they all blew up.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, so what do they care about?
Well, what they care about is what they call either an ACEA rating or like a Volkswagen, Audi will have their own rating. It'll be like a 502 or a 504. And that's what you want to take a look at. So, as an example, I've got 4 oils up here. This is a full synthetic oil that's made by Ford Motor Company. This is what I put in my truck. This is a great oil, but it's not. It can't go in a European car. It's not rated for that. You don't want to use that in there.
I have no idea.
This particular oil, and this is a great oil. You might use this in the race truck. I don't know. I use it in our shuttle cars at work.
Whatever Lou uses in his truck, it doesn't work.
Okay, I think
it worked Friday.
It's not working. Oh, good for you. All right.
Yeah, okay.
He switched from vegetable oil.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, and it's probably hard for the camera to see, but on the back here you can see it's got an ACEA rating, A1, B1, A5, B5. That's good for some European cars. but there's no rating on there for a Volkswagen or an Audi.
So you can't use this in a Volkswagen
Nope.
or Audi and still have it covered under warranty.
Nope, correct, wrong oil.
Oh, that's wrong oil.
Wrong
I've never
oil.
heard of this.
Yeah.
So all these people whose engines you're replacing, those engines are not covered by warranty.
Well, correct. We've got one that was a little bit in question because it had lower mileage on it, but they were denied coverage for two reasons. One, they weren't using the proper oil, and then number two, with the wrong oil, they weren't changing it often enough either.
Not only was it the wrong
sludged
one,
up
yeah.
and it ruined the engine, and their claim was denied. But now you can see here on this particular oil, even though it says turbo diesel on it and it's a 5W40. You can look on the back.
Here, we'd spin it around and show you guys. It has VW, Audi,
Yep,
BMW.
It's got, but what I'm looking at even more down here at the bottom, it says VW 502, 505.
Okay,
That's the
spin this
Volkswagen.
around.
That's the Volkswagen Audi rating.
Changing cameras here. We'll see if we.
So you're saying
There we
either go to someone who knows what they're doing or make sure you read the back of the bottle to know that it's meant for your vehicle.
I would question who's changing your oil and say, hey, what specification oil are you? Especially if you have like a Volkswagen or Audi. They seem to be real. Mini Coopers the same way.
Oh, really?
The
A lot of those floating around.
Anything made in Europe. Yeah. Anything made in Europe. But so like Volkswagen Audi lists their specification is like 502, 504, and there's some other designations. Unless it says it on the bottle, it's not manufacturer approved.
Okay.
Now, other companies will make oil, and maybe they don't have oil that's manufacturer approved, but they'll say, hey, us as an oil company, we recommend this oil. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a big difference between recommended and approved. Who's going to stand behind you when there's a problem?
Right. Yeah.
This is one of my favorite oils right here.
Liquid Moly.
And this is called Liquid Moly. And Liquid Moly is actually made in Germany for German cars.
Okay.
I mean, you could use this in a domestic vehicle, and I'm sure it would work fine. And that's partially why they put the 5W40 rating. But
Right.
as an example, I've got Liquid Moly in stock that says 5W40 on it. I've got some that says 15W40. I've got some 10W30s. They all have the 502, 505, or 502, 504 designation. I can put any of those in that car.
So it didn't matter.
The viscosity doesn't matter, and that's the hard thing for people to grasp is it doesn't matter if you're putting 530 or 540 or 15 whatever in there. You want to look at the final number on there to make sure that it's manufacturer approved.
I had no idea.
I hadn't either. I never heard of this.
You could have just saved people's engines this
Well,
morning.
I
Save
hope,
no money when they
I
have
hope
to
I
change
am.
them.
Well,
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
I am because again, like I said earlier in the show here, it surprised me at how many people in the industry are unaware of this, let alone the consumer. And at the end of the day, it's your car. I would just, maybe do some research. Or if you have a question, call me. I mean, I'll tell you what the oil specification should be.
Okay.
And then when you're getting your oil changed, say, hey, what'd you put in for an oil? If they say, well, we put in 5W30.
Right then you know.
Well, yeah, the flag should go up. Well, is it ACEA rated or is it a 502 or?
Now
or
you just
whatever?
came back from Italy. Did they talk anything about maybe all the Ferraris that come in through your dealership and through your joint?
I got to go back to Italy. We didn't even make it to the Ferrari plant. It was like an hour away. We were so busy with the training that we went over there for.
But people that do have those type of vehicles, would they have to think about the same type of things? Do you?
Exactly. Even a domestic vehicle. You take like a General Motors vehicle that was produced 2011 and newer, and they use a special oil. It's Dexos, and you have to have Dexos oil or Dexos approved. If you don't, and you have a warranty issue, there could be a problem.
Yep. Right.
So you really, the 1995 or 2495 oil change doesn't apply to all the cars out there anymore because the engines are getting so much more technically advanced. You know, it's kind of like the race engine in your truck. I mean, the tolerances are different, the
And the
demands
blends
are
that
different.
we have, yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing you look at too is remember when cars used to all take 5 quarts of oil?
Yeah.
And now they take 4, some takes 3. You know, that there's more heat buildup in that oil. And so the oil has to be better to withstand the heat. We're putting less oil in the engines because we're trying to make the car weigh less to get better fuel mileage.
It's
So
amazing.
it's a web.
Is this a cost thing or just education? Like, would people need to consider this if they're looking at European cars? Because like it will cost you more because you need to look at certain oils for an oil change, or is it just an education thing where you just make sure you know what
It
you're
will
doing?
cost you more. Absolutely. I mean, you're going to spend, you know, $70, $80 to change oil with the proper stuff, just like you would to put synthetic oil in a domestic car. I mean, you pay a little bit more for that, but you get your oil change 3-4 times a year. I mean, it's really cheap. But that is a good point, Jackie. You know, people should look at that or talk to somebody in the auto repair business when they're looking at buying a car, saying, "Hey, what's been your experience with the cost of repairing these cars and putting tires on and stuff?"
Well, the simple thing to do is if you have a European car, you have a question about it, just call this guy.
Call Ron the car guy.
And where can they do that, Ron?
Hey, you can contact me, Ron, at westsideautopros.com, or go through our website, westsideautopros.com. It's got our location, all my contact information on there.
Real simple.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. We learned something
Thank you.
again.
You're
As
welcome.
always,
Great.
we'll be right back at 6:54. You're watching Great Day.